Hi, second graders, and I think I have a first grader in this group. I'm Mrs. Kennison, and I will be teaching the white level of the ERLA toolkit. It's exciting that you are white readers. White readers is where we want second graders to be at the end of second grade, beginning of third grade. So if you're in first grade and you're at a level white, congratulations to you. So we're going to be having lessons recorded and sent to you so that we can make sure that you continue to grow in your reading. So what does it mean to be a white level reader? Well, it means a couple of things. I'm not sure if you have this in your reading bag, but this is your white skills card. And as a white reader, you need to be able to do a lot of these things that it says right here, okay? So you should be finishing a chapter book every week. If that's you, thumbs up. You should be able to read for an hour a day. Now remember, we usually read for 30 minutes in school, 30 minutes for homework, so that is an hour a day. But if reading is something for you that you like to break up into smaller chunks, that's okay too. You can do 2 30-minute blocks or 4 15-minute blocks. Now, if you're reading a chapter book, sometimes you get so sucked into that story that you just don't want to put the book down, and that's okay too. I definitely am a reader. But just remember to record your reading steps so that we can get credit for all of the great reading that you're doing. Something that you also need to be able to do is reading from a lot of different genres. Well, what does a genre mean? You remember what a genre is. Take a minute and stop. What is a genre? Oh, I remember. That's the type of books I'm reading. It might be informational books like science and social studies, maybe about astronauts or space travel. Fictional stories, they can be realistic, or they can be mystery or humor. A story like, say, The Gruffalo. That was a fictional story from our animal unit. Traditional tales, we read a lot of those in the animal unit also. I don't know if you remember Anansi and the spider. He was a very trickster, very much a trickster, and he would have been a traditional tale. And there's also poetry and drama. Drama would be plays, and poetry, you'll remember that unit. That was one of the very first ones we did at the beginning of the school year. One of the things that we're going to be working on together is we're going to be working on context clues, and we're going to be working on building our academic vocabulary. So what does that look like for today? Well, we're going to be launching it. Now you're going to see sometimes my eyes will go up because I've got a board behind me that I'm looking at, and I want to make sure, here it is. This is what we're going to be doing. Our goal as white readers is to become more word conscious. Now, as you read books at the white level, you're going to notice that sometimes you have to try to pronounce a word several different ways. You might be a really good decoder at this stage of reading, and that means I can sound out words that are long. But if I don't know the meaning of that word, I'm not really reading, I'm just word calling, or I can say the words, but the meaning of that word is completely lost on me. That's knowing the comprehension of the word. And we're going to be using context clues to figure out what those are. So our goal is to become more word conscious, to be able to figure out new words in context. And we're going to be reading a story about a young man called Miami Jones, and I think you're really going to like him a lot. But before we get started there, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to pop up in the corner, and I'm looking at 3 tiers of vocabulary. The 3 tiers of vocabulary means that we have everyday speech. That's going to be something that we use when we talk to moms and dads, when we talk to aunties, when we talk to our brothers and sisters. That's just our everyday speech. We'd probably say something like, I'm really tired today. We wouldn't likely say, oh, I'm exhausted, or I am tuckered out. Those are the words that we would not typically use, but we would see in academic or stories to make them more interesting. And then last but not least, we have technical and subject-specific vocabulary. And what that is if I'm reading a book on astronomy, which is the study of the stars and planets, I might be using words such as telescope and Milky Way and galaxy. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about with technical vocabulary. So let me see, I'm going to come back to you. I've got all kinds of screens up here. Let me go over to my Zoom screen. Oh, there I am. There you are too. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk about that vocabulary. Let me get me back cell right here on screen and context clues. Sometimes this is a little bit harder than it looks. We're going to go over here to Zoom US. We're in our Zoom meeting right now. We want to go back over to here. Oh, where are you? Oh, there we go. Okay. We're going to go back to that ARC bookshelf. There we are. See me up here in the corner still? Keep your eye on me. Okay. We talked about the 3 types of vocabulary: everyday language, academic vocabulary, and technical vocabulary. Well, I'm going to give you an example. Let me go through here. This is the story that we're going to be reading as as white readers. Okay, it's called Miami Jackson Makes the Play, and we're going to be doing quite a bit of a read aloud because I know that you don't all have this story. And but certainly, if you want to purchase the book from Amazon, it's about a $6 paperback. It is a chapter book because remember, we should be finishing chapter books 1 a week. So you'll see where it says on the screen down here, it says determining the meanings of new words. All right, that's what we're going to be focusing on for the next couple of weeks, the next couple of lessons. We're going to determine the meaning of new words. So what does that look like? Well, look at number 1. It says notice a new word. First of all, you got to stop and notice, wait a minute, I read something I didn't quite understand. You're going to try several pronunciations. Does it sound familiar? Chunk it, cover up different parts. What words do you notice? Do you notice a prefix or a suffix? Do you notice a root word? Can you figure it out? Well, if you can't figure it out, you go down to step 2. Use what you know and clues in the text to figure out what the new word might mean. I like to tell my readers, keep reading. Don't stop at that book. Don't stop in the book at that word. Keep reading, because often the clue for that word comes after the word. You're also going to go down to step 3, which is come up with a likely synonym for a short definition, a new word that might make sense. So for example, if I said, I was exhausted after digging in the garden for 9 hours. Maybe you'd never heard of the word exhausted, but if you kept reading, you'd see that I was digging in the garden for 9 hours. That's a long time. So exhausted probably means tired. Tired and exhausted are synonyms, similar meaning. So then you'll reread that sentence with that new word as your synonym. I was tired after digging in the garden for 9 hours. Does that make sense? It sure does, and that's why we go down to step 5. If the meaning of the sentence is unchanged, your synonym is probably correct. If not, try another word. So we're going to be working on context clues. So here's your task for today. I want you to get out whatever you've been reading from your blue bag, or feel comfortable or going to the ARC bookshelf to any of the 2R books or the 1R books, and I want you to read, and I want you to find 5 words that you didn't know today. 5 words that you said, hang on a minute, I don't know what that is, and use the context around that word to figure out what it will look like. And then you're going to go to Class Dojo, and you're going to write down, well, you're going to go to the words in your notebook. So you'll take your notebook. It might look a little bit like this. I'm going to take your notebook. All right, and I'm going to write down that word. All right, let me see if I can do this. I'm going to write down my word. I might write defend is a word that I saw, but I wasn't sure what it was. All right, so this is today's lesson 1 of white level. right, lesson 1 of my white level. And I'm going to write the word defend. I found that in my story. I didn't know what it meant. And defend means to protect. And I was able to figure that out by looking at the context clues around the word. So I'm going to write defend. I'm going to write the context clue. It means to protect. That's how I figured it out. And when I'm done coming up with my 5 words, I'm going to take a picture of it and I'm going to post it on Class Dojo so that my teacher knows I did my reading work for today. That's all for today, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again on Wednesday.